this has been like my number one thing that I've had in my mind that I wanted to talk to you about. Have you been paying any attention to the beef, the rap beef?
No, dude, I know what you're talking about, the Kendrick and Drake
Yeah.
beef.
You've been completely
Well,
disconnected?
I'm pretty disconnected. I haven't heard either of the tracks because they're
Man.
they're they're two rappers I don't give a shit about. Like I
Yeah.
don't, dude. Here's the thing. I thought about this. I have to say this,
Yeah.
dude. There's a quadrant of rappers.
A quadrant.
There's a quadrant, a square of rappers that when people mention them, I'm like, I shut off. I'm just like, I give a shit. But
Yeah.
they're like the biggest rappers in the world. It's
Kendrick?
Kanye
Yeah.
West, Kendrick Lamar, J.
J.
Cole,
Cole?
Drake.
Drake. Yeah.
So when you tell me that there's like this three-way beef between J. Cole, Kendrick
Kendrick
Lamar,
Lamar and
and
Drake.
Drake, I'm like,
You're
dude,
tuned
that's
off.
3/4 of a quadrant that I don't give a shit about.
I've been
Like
into
I
it,
don't.
dude. I've been excited, man. I've been like into it.
Well,
Like,
give us your take on it.
well, because for those not in the know, like Jake, for those
Yeah.
members of our audience who are not, hip hop fans or who are hip hop fans like Jake is, but are not, paying any attention to this. This is what's going on. Drake and Kendrick have had beef for a long time, for a long
Yeah.
time. And you can watch the videos, Trap Lord Ross or whoever, these guys, they all have, a bunch of guys have videos like on just like the detailed history of the beef. There's like a specific guy on YouTube though that he's all about the beefs. But if you want to know, just Google like Drake Kendrick beef history or something, and you'll get a video. But basically, these guys have had a history like beef for a while, and it all basically comes down to Kendrick is perceived by the culture at large to be like the great hip hop guy at the moment. Like he's perceived to be like like the best guy, like the successor to like Tupac or something, like the best guy, because it always feels like somebody wears that crown for a little bit. There's always somebody who wears the crown of like, this is the best artist that we have. Jay-Z had it for a little bit, Kanye had it for a little bit, and then Kendrick has had it for a while.
Yeah.
Like Kendrick has technically had like the crown of this is the best hip hop guy since Good Kid, Mad City.
Yeah.
And then he
For like a split second, it was looking like it was going to go to Chance the Rapper,
oh
and then
Chance,
that just
oh dude, and I have a topic about that.
like when Coloring Book came
Yeah.
out, it was starting. Chance, I've never liked Chance the Rapper at all.
Yeah.
I was when he, not that I don't, I don't want anybody to fall off or like their career to go bad or anything.
Yeah.
I wish him the best as a
Chance the
person,
Rapper.
but they're just as a listener, they're as a listener and not as a human being, but just as a listener, I was really kind of like relieved when he sort of fell off because it was just like, okay, thank God. Like I don't have to hear people talking about how great Chance supposedly is when he sucks.
Ooh, that big day. The big day was the biggest day for Chance. That was the name of the album that he fell out of. But
yeah. But again, as a human being, I don't want anybody to fall off or their career to go bad. But yeah.
No, and I want to talk about him. I actually have like a topic on him, like on my notes, but alas, this is what happened. Everything, like I said, everything happened. Good Kid, Mad City came out. I remember I think it was 2013, 2014, Macklemore and Ryan Lewis won Best Rap Album for The Heist, which was insanely controversial, because it was one of those moments in hip hop history where it's like, you had Drake, you had Kanye, you had Kendrick, Kanye had Issues, Drake had, Nothing Was the Same. Kendrick had Good Kid, Mad City, so you had like big names. Each one of those guys put out a good album, Yeezus and Good Kid, Mad City are great, and Nothing Was the Same is good, So it's like all these guys had good albums out, and they gave it to The Heist by Macklemore. It was humongous. It was a humongous fucking like baffling thing that happened. And
that's insane.
So much so that when Macklemore received the award, he was apologetic. And after the fact, he tweeted a huge apology to Kendrick. Like the apology was dedicated solely to Kendrick, being like, I am sorry, you deserve this award, And ever since that happened, Kendrick and Drake have had beef. Because Drake then, I think Drake like tweeted being like, all of us deserve an apology, and he was like salty in interviews, being like, all of us should have been apologized to. Basically, Drake refused the narrative that Kendrick was better than him,
Mm.
even though that Kendrick cemented it with To Pimp a Butterfly, that went on to win everything.
Yeah.
And then he double cemented it with Damn, that won him a Pulitzer Prize. So it's like, the guy just distanced himself from him so far, And so we've arrived here, with sneak disses and pot shots throughout the years between these two guys. And Kendrick was the one who took it there because, I listened to the track, which I like. Like, I like the Metro Booming Future thing. Because this is a beef involving everybody.
Oh, that's a great song.
Like that
3-6 Mafia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a 3-6 Mafia sample off of Mystic Styles.
Yeah, I think Kanye had sampled that, right?
I don't know. I don't know of the Kanye sample, but it's the song "Gotta Touch 'Em" off of Mystic Styles.
Yeah, no, and he flipped the same sample Kanye flipped for that the game song that he did.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah. That's a very
thug, that one.
yeah. That's a commonly used sample in rap as well.
Yeah, so we skip to the present, right? And basically all of these guys united, and by all of these guys I mean Metro Booming, who's had beef with Drake for like a year. Future, surprisingly, doing a heel turn. Or a heel turn for Drake's narrative, but maybe like a babyface turn in the larger narrative. Because he did this collab album with Metro Women called "We Don't Like You" or "We Don't Trust You," and it was all about beefing with Drake. Like the whole album was just sneak disses, direct disses from Future, everybody who's a feature in that fucking album was basically dissing at Drake. The Weeknd, and then they released like a second album, like a "We Still Don't Trust You." And in that one, they got fucking A$AP Rocky. They just were bringing people out of the woods. Like anybody who would come in and diss him.
I didn't know Future and Drake were on bad terms.
No, they're on bad terms. They're not friends anymore.
I did not know that.
No, the whole "We Don't Trust You" thing is just about Drake. They're not friends anymore. Rick Ross came out of the woodwork and dissed Drake. Like everybody's been dissing this guy. Let me see. Travis Scott is featured. Anybody who's featured in this album was basically just throwing stones at Drake. The Weeknd, Travis Scott, Kendrick Lamar. Travis Scott's on 2 songs, and then Rick Ross is featured in a song called "Everyday Hustle." So it's like all of these guys were basically they all united. They all united their powers, and they were just like, let's take this guy down.
That's crazy.
Because apparently it's something along the lines of like Drake. The thing with Drake and Future has to do with like a woman. Like a woman came, I guess, in between their situation, and now Future's kind of throwing hands at him. And with what's his name, with Kid Rocky. A$AP Rocky, Kid Rocky, with A$AP Rocky, is that Drake threw shots at Rocky in his last album because he was like talking about Rihanna and this and that. So then Rocky just threw shots at him. So basically Drake's been like sneak dissing people in all his albums, just like throwing sneak disses, being like a little like high schooler and just like dissing people, like mentioning people without mentioning their names. So all these guys united. And then Kanye kind of blew it open too, because Kanye was like, they called me to the studio, and I went to the studio, And he was like, they were all, Kanye said, like, they were all united for the combined efforts of the destruction of Drake. That's what Kanye said.
That's insane.
Which is a hilarious thing to say, destruction of Drake. So all these guys are trying to take him down, But the number one thing that stood out was the Kendrick feature on the song Like That, where he mentions Drake and J. Cole had a very popular song called First Person Shooter in Drake's last album. And then Kendrick's basically like mentioning that song, because in that song, J. Cole was saying that him and Drake and Kendrick were the big 3, which is like a common term for those guys over the past decade. And then Kendrick was just basically saying like, it's just he was like, I'm the big guy. You guys are chumps. He called them bums, and which is the most hilarious part about that song. He calls them bum. I find that so funny, and like to me that's the funniest part. Like, he's just calling him the bum, and then he just puts Drake down on the whole song, on the feature, And so Drake put out a feature called Push Ups that's on streaming services, and that was like his response to the whole Kendrick thing. He put out he did that Push Ups thing like a month later. He came out with that, and in it he just went at everybody. He went at Metro Booming, and the only thing he said to Metro Booming was like, Metro Booming, shut up and make drums. Like he just kind of put him down. But he went at Future. He went at The Weeknd. He just went at everybody. But mainly he went at Kendrick, and he called Kendrick like he called him derogatory terms for small people, little people. He called them those type of things. He did the same thing he did with Pusha T that ended up with Pusha T destroying him, which famously with the Pusha T thing, Pusha T released a song called Infrared, and then Drake was like, "Well, you're gonna be dissing me. I'm going to diss you." And he released a song called Duppy Freestyle. And in it, the only thing I ever remember about that song is that he says, mention my name and I might let it ring on you like Virginia Williams. That's the only thing I ever remember about that song, because that's the part where he mentions Pusha T's wife, and that was what made Pusha T go nuclear. And
Story of Adidon.
And there was a story of Adidon.
Probably one of the best diss songs of all time. I mean, it's so good.
It destroyed him. And so
over the OJ beat is so good too, because that beat is so eerie. You just know like something's about to happen, and then when he reveals,
a child.
Yeah. Oh man.
Let that
like
boy go home.
Oh,
deadbeat motherfucker. That's what a wonderful song.
So good.
So playing Border
One
Patrol.
of the best diss songs ever.
I love that song, dude. Tick tick tick. I love that.
That man is sick. Oh,
so
God.
Drake did the same thing he did to Pusha T. He released that song Push Ups. It was making fun of Kendrick, making fun of his height, making fun of his money, saying that Kendrick was not gonna do nothing, and saying that mentioned Kendrick's wife by name. He said her first name. So he did all those things, the same things that he did to Pusha T that ended up with Pusha T again, humiliating the man. And then he released like a week later, he released like an AI song. I don't know if you're aware of this. It was like an AI song where he like had the AI voice of Tupac and the AI voice of what's his name? Snoop Dogg.
Oh yeah, I did hear about this.
And he used their voices to like goad Kendrick into responding, because Drake was desperate to get Kendrick to respond to him like very quickly, because that's also what happened with Meek Mill. Because with Meek Mill, I don't know if you remember, because Drake destroyed Meek Mill in his beef with him, where Drake released what is it, like 100, and then he released Back to Back or whatever, and he destroyed Meek Mill because he released those two songs back to back, and then Meek Mill responded like the next day, and it was like a horrible response. And then everything got buried after that. So basically the narrative is that he was trying to goad Kendrick into like basically releasing a song really quickly, like just making him angry and releasing a song. And Kendrick didn't do that. Kendrick waited like 2 weeks, and he released the song yesterday or like the day before yesterday.
Yeah.
And dude, since I listened to that song, I've not gotten it out of my head. It's it's tremendous. I love it.
Is it really? I got to listen to it.
It's fantastic.
Didn't Drake drop one called Tailor Made Freestyle?
That's the one. That's the AI one.
Oh, that's the AI one. Okay.
Yeah. And now if you go on YouTube and you go on trending, for the past like 24 hours, the number one trending video on YouTube has been the new Kendrick diss. And you know what's underneath it? Just the Fantano review being like Kendrick won. Just says Kendrick won the. But people are expecting to see if Drake will release like if there'll be like a round 2 to this whole thing, if Drake will release like an answer. But dude, I love the Kendrick's reply. It's great. Like I've been really into this because like the Like That song's great. Drake's like Push Up song is really fun. Like I think he actually made like a really like fun song. And then this Kendrick thing, dude, is awesome. Like I'm not lying to you. I've listened to this thing now maybe like 7 or 8 times. I listened to it on the way home from work. I stayed in my car and listened to it again. I was like, man, this is great. Like I can't.
Is it called Euphoria?
Yeah, I can't get enough of it, dude. It's so good.
I'm gonna put this on my. playlists here.
And
YouTube.
one of the standout like moments in it is that he says, he basically says like, you're beefing with Pharrell, I'm gonna inherit the beef, And he goes like, he goes like, you say you're pushing P. He goes, I want to see you push a T, which I found so fucking funny. He was like, oh, dude, this is like jabbing at him. It's like, oh, you lost to push a T, and there's nothing you can do about that. So
that's great.
Yeah, man,
I gotta check that out, man. Okay, thank you for
explained.
Yeah, thanks for catching me up on that. Because I just like me, I'm a huge hip hop fan, but I don't like again those rappers like J. Cole or whoever said we're the big three. It's like you guys suck. Like okay, Kendrick doesn't suck. I'll take that back. I like Kendrick.
Yeah, Kendrick's good.
He's not my he's not my favorite, but Kendrick's great.
No, he's not my favorite
either. I love. I mean, from every album of Kendrick's, there's a few songs that I'm bumping, continuously. But yeah, like the other, J. Cole and Drake. J. Cole and Drake can. Yeah, J. Cole has stop making music.
They can.
For all
both
I
of those
care.
Guys. Both of those.
Especially
guys.
Drake. I mean, Drake. If we were to rank, like it's Kendrick 1, J. Cole 2, Drake 3
for sure. Yeah.
Drake's like, dude.
And it's sad for J. Cole because J. Cole's whole role here was that J. Cole was the first to respond, and he humiliated himself because he released like a diss to Kendrick off of the Like That record. And then he took it off of social media. He took it off of streaming services. He apologized about it in public, saying that he was sorry and that it was whack and that he didn't want to, So J. Cole took a huge L because he basically like released a horrible diss and then he like apologized all weepy to Kendrick. And so then Kendrick basically just like, okay, Kendrick's moved past it and he's just going at Drake. But whenever people get these high profile beefs, especially with Drake, like against him, I'm always like so engaged because I'm always just like, yes, like get at the guy.
Take Drake down.
It's like at this point, like every like 5 years, every like 5 or 6 years, somebody's like, let me take this guy down a peg. Like, let me take this guy down like a volume,
Yeah, well, because Drake's almost like the Adam Sandler of rap, where it's like he's just been responsible for some of the.
That's a great quote.
Thank you. I think it's accurate because he's been like Adam Sandler's been responsible for like so much crap, and then Drake's the same. He's been responsible for so much crap. Like how many, dude? Just growing up, the past 15 years of our lives, dude. How much of his crap have we just like growing up? Sitting carpooling, I remember just carpooling middle school, high school, just Drake on the radio, just like, oh my god, like I've just had to sit through so and not only that, like not just carpool or on the radio, like parties, dude. Yeah. Every party you go to, you just got to suffer through a Drake song, and even if
it's not him directly, it's always featuring him. Like when that Travis Scott song was big, what was it? Sicko Mode.
Sicko Mode. Yeah. Oh my god, dude! Every party we went to that year.
Sicko Mode.
Yeah, junior year of college, every party we went to 3 times per party was Sicko Mode played. It was like Jesus Christ, enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm always down for Drake to be taken down.
So that's it, man. And again,
whether he's rapping or singing too, it's like.
And with Kendrick's a guy that I always like. He always catches my attention whenever he releases something because it's always like there's always something great, Like Good Kid, Mad City is like undeniably a classic. I love that album, To Pimp a Butterfly 2, and Damn is like one of those albums where like I don't know. I think I mentioned this. Every time I listen to that album, I'm like, this is incredible, And then I forget how great it is, and then I go back to it eventually, and I'm like, this is amazing, Like the guy is just so good. So every time he releases something, he always has my attention, Like when he released that song, The Heart Part 5, which I thought was the best part of the whole like Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers like release. And again, dude, with this song to me is incredible. Like this song he just released, like everybody's just been gushing about it, everybody. And I agree with everybody 100%. Like it's so good, Like performance wise, it's so good. 6 minutes of just fire, dude. It's so good.
I'm excited now. Let me ask you this, dude. This is a bit of trivia, I guess. Have Drake and Kendrick ever made a song together?
They have, yeah.
What album?
Drake is featured in Poetic Justice.
Oh, that's right.
And
Yeah, I like
Kendrick
that
is
song.
featured in in Thank Me Later. I don't remember the song.
Okay.
It's like a song that
So it was
features both Kendrick
both are
and
old.
Andre 3000. Yeah, they're both old. They're both from 2012, both basically.
Okay.
But
Okay.
not
No,
again
I forgot
since
about
then.
Poetic Justice. That Poetic Justice is a good song. I
Poetic
like that one.
Justice. Yeah, but not again since then. And funnily enough, Kendrick mentions in this new song that Drake apparently sent him like a feature request, revealing that in that song, First Person Shooter with Drake and J. Cole, that apparently Kendrick was supposed to also be in that song. But Kendrick was like, nope,
Wow.
nope, nope, nope.
Interesting. Yeah, and then J. Cole is someone who I can recognize that he is a good artist, and I
Mhm.
understand why people like him, especially 2014 Forest Hills Drive. I mean, that's the name of that album, right?
Yeah,
2014 Forest Hills
2014
Drive.
Forest Hills, yeah,
And it came out in 2014 too.
yeah.
Like that's a good album. There's good songs on that album.
The
I
song
would
with
say
Kendrick
that's
is called "Buried Alive," the one in Take Care.
okay.
Yeah.
But like J. Cole, for me, it's like more of a taste thing. I don't know.
I want to give him a shot
His
because,
songs
like,
don't grab me.
I want to give him at least like one shot because when I went through J's, I don't have a single J Cole album on my like ever. I've never had a single J Cole album like on my fucking library. I've listened to some of his songs. My brother likes him a little bit, and I've known people that like J Cole. So like, I want to give him like a shot. Like, I want to listen to because I know that there were people talk about J Cole. They say that 2014 Forest Hills Drive is a good album.
Yeah.
And some people say that For Your Eyes Only, the one that came after that, is underrated. And then most people agree that overall his newest album, the one from like 2020, the off season, I think it is, that album is like everybody thinks it's good generally. Everybody thinks it's like a good album. So I at least want to give a shot to like those three albums and just see if there's
Yeah.
anything in there for me. Because the thing is that I love his features. Like I think J. Cole's a great feature artist. Like
Eh,
he had a feature with Benny the Butcher in a song called Johnny P's Caddy, which I think is incredible. Like that song's a 10 out of 10. And I think he has a great feature in
really.
that. Like he just has like
I gotta
he
check
has
that out.
great features, dude. Like the work that he's been doing as a feature artist and like a bunch of other people's songs, the features he's done with 21 Savage, the features he's done with, again, Benny the Butcher. Like he stood out as like just being able to deliver great features. The one he did with with Lil Baby, like he's just done good features. So because of that, he had generally risen in respect. Like people were generally giving him a lot of respect lately because they're like, oh, this guy's a great MC. He always comes through. The feature in first person shooter is great. With the Drake song. So it's like the shitty thing for J. Cole now is that he has damaged his legacy heavy. Because now people are basically being like, I never want to hear you say that you're the best guy in the game. None of this, because you apologized to another guy. So
Yeah,
it's pretty funny.
that's funny. Yeah, I don't know. I find J. Cole boring. I'll say this. I really like his song Kevin's Heart. Have you heard that
I
song?
have heard that song
That's my favorite J. Cole song.
off of that
I
off of
love
that
that
album
song.
with him, like a Santa Claus or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
That's a great song. But yeah, I find J. Cole very boring. I don't know. I'm more like with rap, I'm more I like the underdogs, man. The ones that people don't like, you know, like Cuddy over Kanye for me,
Yeah,
right? Like other people like Kendrick, I like Freddie Gibbs,
right, right.
Like I think Freddie Gibbs is the go. I think he should be like,
Up there.
at Kendrick status. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
I mean, dude, on no day of the week would I prefer to listen to Pimp a Butterfly over like Pinata by Freddie Gibbs
Hmm.
ever.
Hmm.
Never. It's just a taste thing, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's just the people that are like in that upper echelon, regarded at least,
Hmm.
the J. Coles, the Kendricks, the Drake for whatever
Drake.
reason.
Yeah.
Um,
Drake.
and like Kanye, I'm just not. I don't know. I'm just not interested in like
Yeah.
really any of them
The
that
only
much. Kendrick the most for
yeah.
me. Like Kendrick, I do like quite a few of his songs, but even still, I still kind of find him a little boring
Yeah.
overall.
I like all these guys. Like you know me. Like I love Cuddy, and I love Gibbs. I
Yeah,
love all the Griselda guys. Like me. Like Earl. I love all these guys, all the underground
yeah.
hip hop guys. I love all of them. Um, fucking Mac Homie and Baldy James. Like I like all these guys, but I really also I really do love like I mean me. I love Kanye. I've been doing a Kanye retrospective for 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, yeah.
And in which basically I've just said basically all the albums so far have been perfect albums.
Yeah.
And I love Kendrick. I go back and forth with Drake because I do enjoy his projects sometimes. That I was like that I got really into that fucking like dance, like that one dance
Yeah,
one.
that's
What
right.
was
I
it?
forgot about that.
What was the name of that album?
I don't remember.
Remember
I can
this?
picture it. It
Take
had
this
like lightning
tomorrow?
bolt
Yeah,
text on it.
it was some bullshit. But I got really into that album, and then I think he has at least three good albums. Because I really do think that Take Care is good, and I think that Nothing Was the Same is good, and I think that If You're Reading This Is Too Late is good. So I defend him. I will like defend Drake and say like he's done good shit. Which is funny though, because those three albums are albums where he was just kind of being himself. Because I feel like what's happened to that guy now is that he's just sold out to such an extent. He's just creatively bankrupt. Like everything he makes just feels soulless. But those first three albums, like those three albums out of his first four albums in his career, because his first album was like Thank Me Later or whatever. Those three albums I think are good. Everything else I think is basically like some level of ass.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
more tolerable than the other.
He's just so vanilla.
Yeah.
He's just like that's that's like the best word I can use to describe like him, J. Cole, honestly, like Kanye to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
I know like that's one of your favorite artists, but just for me personally, like I'm just kind of like I don't know, like I don't know. It's just a taste thing. I like weirder shit, I guess, which Kanye stuff does get weird, and I like his weirder songs. Like before, right before we hopped on the podcast, I was listening to Guilt Trip by Kanye and Cudi. I mean, that off of Yeezus, that's my favorite Kanye song.
Really?
That's a great song.
Yeah.
So
I think Kanye,
they all have songs that are like fire.
I think Kanye, and I'll get more into this when I talk about this side of his career, this like the 2010 side of his career. But I will go out of my way to say, and I'll expand about that more, but that he is the most like innovative mainstream artist out of the last like 30 to 40 years, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Because it's interesting, because it's like, you listen to something like Yeezus. And obviously, in terms of like experimental hip hop, if you put it side to side with like the Money Store outclasses it in terms of like pure eccentricity and pure like avant-garde, like industrial experimental hip hop. But
you're talking for those listening, this is the Money Store by Death Grips.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a
their debut album.
It's like the listeners just not here.
No, it's cool, man.
But I do, I want to make that point on his behalf too, because I think that, when you reach such a level where he was, which basically is like, because he for about a period of like 5 to 6 years, he basically inhabited the position that Drake has been in for the past decade, of just being the number one basically male artist in the planet. And I think for somebody to be in that position and to do the things he did, it's pretty fascinating. But that's a short tangent, because I'm not going to go on. The kind of retrospective, folks, is on break this week because I didn't listen to the albums.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we got a short recess from the Yay train.
The Yay train, dude.
The Yay train has stopped for refueling. Yeah,
which I want to get through him, because very soon the Yay train is basically becoming the Kid Cudi train.
That's true.
And the Kendrick train, which is I'm excited for that.
Oh, true.
Like literally, I'm going from Kanye. Like as soon as I'm finished with Kanye, I have 3 artists, actually 2, because I already listened to one of them. I had 2 artists, no, actually 3. It was four, but I listened to one of them. I have four artists in between Kendrick. And then I'll get to Kendrick, and then before I get to Cuddy, I have one, two, three, four artists. So
Yep.
I'll get to the
Oh
points.
man, anytime I see anything Cuddy related this past week, I've just gotten really sad
I
because
know,
his tour
right?
got canceled.
Yeah.